where shadows rise and legends are born. Rest in the Animus and tune your ears into the GeekVerse. You're listening to Geeks Creed, featuring your hosts, Reuben Olson and Taylor Field.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Geeks Creed. I am the mentor, Taylor Field, and I am joined by
none other than myself, Reuben. Without the mentor tagline. I have no tagline. The apprentice? Call me the apprentice. We'll do that. I'm the apprentice, Reuben.
You know what? I keep trying to not fall back into my cryptid clues ways and mindset right now, because I just feel like when we cast, it's cryptid clues, because we haven't done this show in a very long time. So long. Oh my goodness. And what the show is basically, it started off as getting into everything Assassin's Creed related, and it lasted for well over 10 episodes. I think there was 13 total. And yeah, we broke down everything going on with Assassin's Creed, because there was a lot that was popping off back in the day, and there still is a lot popping off in today's time for Assassin's Creed. But the show eventually phased off because, you know, lives and busyness, and it's hard to kind of stay on top of everything Assassin's Creed. But the reason we're doing this is because GeekVerse is hitting up the 10-year anniversary mark this summer, so it's going to be huge. And with Travis has been mapping it all out for our celebration stuff, and kind of piecing together all of these old vintage podcasts that we used to do under the GeekVerse umbrella, like Netflix and Fail, and maybe a Dynamic Duo. I can't recall on that, but all these old shows and whatnot that used to roam the feeds back in the day. And Geeks Creed is one of those that used to be on the feeds back in the day. So we are here to basically break down all the latest and greatest Assassin's Creed content and news. And as I said earlier, we got a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna roll off the fun facts here real quick, and then Reuben, I'm gonna pass it to you, because I want to know what you've been up to lately on Assassin's Creed and everything Ubisoft related there. So our first episode was recorded. That was myself and Travis. We were doing a trailer review for the Assassin's Creed movie, actually, and that was one of our first reviews of sorts that we did on YouTube with a camera set up. And that was between 8 and 9 years ago, so a very, very long time.
Very long ago. Holy. Is GeekVerse becoming nostalgia now?
I think so. Yeah. If you go further than that, there was a GeekVerse episode called Geeks Creed, and that's well beyond what this side podcast is. That was just regular GeekVerse news, and probably like year one, where we had a bunch of Assassin's Creed news that I was just shouting off and talking about, so we just called it that. But yeah, so it's always kind of lingered around since the start. Our last episode that we did was just about 5 years ago, and that was episode 13, which was a review of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And you were present for that, Reuben. You were with me for that. Our second episode that we did. I'm kind of bouncing all over the board here of Geeks Creed. That's where you made your debut onto the show. So you joined me, and I remember we would go into, not the study. It was like your old suite, the upstairs, and
where it's completely. Oh, I remember that.
Not bad.
Just no drywall, just planks of wood. Very echoey. But it was quiet, though.
It was quiet. We just had one mic, and
we were using the Yeti, right?
We're using the Yeti. Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're just getting into Assassin's Creed. So yeah, it was some good times and lots of change and refinements. And we even did our own little promo advertising, because we got dressed up in our Assassin's Creed costumes and did a little photo shoot, if you remember that.
I remember that very clearly. Oh, I liked we had like a thumbnail for Geeks Creed with the two of us and our cosplay there for a bit. I think that's my favorite picture of us in our costumes.
Yeah. I think so. I'm with you on that. There's some good times with that. And And Ezio and Altair, those were banger costumes. I still have mine, and it still fits me, believe it or not.
Mine still kind of fits me. I just need
like
some extra clothespins, like the little
I like yours
baby
more.
pins.
My cousin's got an Ezio costume, and I'm a big fan of the Ezio look. It's just so fashionable, so sleek.
But you know what's wrong with my costume, though?
What's
I
that?
don't have Ezio's hidden blade. I have the movie edition.
Oh, you have Aguilar's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not realize that. Did you get that? Had to have been after the fact, though.
I think it was after the fact because I think you lent me one of yours to put on the costume for the photo shoot.
Right. I think I did. Yes, I believe.
And then I went to
that's
EB
right.
Games, which I like how we've come full circle from Geeks Creed to our Cryptic Clues to doing this episode for Geeks Creed. And I got my hidden blade from EB Games, and then they got bought out and became GameStop. And then GameStop is shutting down in Canada and becoming EB Games again.
Yeah, that is full circle, isn't it? But you've got a few different Assassin's Creed collectible items. Like, we both got Apple of Edens, and then you've got I mean, you're definitely an Ezio guy, I'd say, because you got that sweet statue.
Oh, yeah. The Leap of Faith statue is
The Leap
sick.
of Faith statue. Yeah, I'm jealous of that. But you also open your figures up. I don't. I got some nice ones, but they're in the box.
Yeah, no, that drives me up the wall every single time. I just want to like sneak over and like a little assassin and just come in and just open up everything and put them on display. But I'd feel terrible. So what I'd actually do is just spend the money to buy all those same figures, open them up, and then switch them out. So you would have the initial shock factor and then realization that, oh, I still have all the sealed copies. It's A-okay.
I'd go for that. That sounds good. I'd appreciate that. That sounds safe. I don't know if I'll ever get around to opening up some of my stuff. In fact, I have some old Assassin's Creed action figures that I put on eBay to sell because I look at them and think they've just been sitting in the closet. I'm never gonna open these action figures. Like, what am I gonna do with the Adewale action figure and my Edward Kenway figure? Like, ay ay ay. But anyway,
Have those increased in value at all?
Not really. They're still. I can't remember what I paid for them. It would have been retail, so I'm assuming maybe $15 for one of these action figures.
Okay.
Here, I'll hold one up. Oh God, drop the stuff. Okay, so here's Connor Kenway, for example. And I do not remember how much I paid for him, but they were cool because it's a McFarlane product, McFarlane toy, and there's a whole series that you can get, and then they release different phases with different characters in each series, and each character that you would buy, you could get in-game content basically. So with Connor Kenway, you get looks like it's something to do with the ship because they did have naval combat in Assassin's Creed 3, and I think this code is for that. Oh, no. Okay, sorry, I'm wrong. So this is for Black Flag, so that makes more sense. You get
Where the ship combat was a little bit better.
Yes. So I believe Connor Kenway's ship was called the Jackdaw in Assassin's Creed 3, and so you would get that ship skin for Edward Kenway's ship in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So I think that's how that was set up. But
It's a nice little bonus for them to ship with the figure.
yeah, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. And back in high school days, I remember I was huge on getting, like, when you pre-order a game, and I think this is the case with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, pre-ordering Brotherhood at different locations, Future Shop, Best Buy, Walmart, or EB Games, it warranted different pre-order bonuses. And there were certain, because Brotherhood introduced multiplayer, and I freaking loved that multiplayer so much. And I remember getting it at EB Games. I got the Jester as an online assassin that you could play as in online matches. And then there were other characters too. There was like a doctor character and some other ones that were available through different pre-order bonuses. So different stores did different pre-order incentives, I guess.
That the PvP where it was basically where you would like hide as an NPC at times and go find the other players and try to assassinate them all?
Yes,
that was such a good game mode.
It was good. you were being hunted while you had to hunt someone else, and you had the wheel at the bottom, which would kind of like open up and show you like the rough direction of where your
Yeah.
target is, and
It was
you
like
could.
prop hunt before
Oh,
prop hunt.
yeah, that's a good way to look at it, actually. I wish they'd bring it back. I really do, because it lasted all the way until it was there for Revelations. It was there in Assassin's Creed 3, and then it transitioned when they brought Unity out. And Unity was like 4-player co-op story in this open world, and that was so much fun. But there were so many bugs with Unity that it kind of killed it. And so after that, Ubisoft just swore off multiplayer for Assassin's Creed and went back to
Right.
basics. So
But now they've gone back and fixed Unity, correct?
I believe so. I haven't seen any invisible faces. So
No, I was hearing a lot about Unity actually, especially from some coworkers. They were like, "Oh no, replaying through Assassin's Creed Unity because the latest patch like fixed everything, or maybe it was like a mod or something. I don't know." But apparently, now that so much time has passed, the game is actually playable in a much better
interesting.
state. They fixed a lot of the parkour. So much stuff has been improved with little quality of life changes, but I would have to look it up and delve into those details because I myself have never actually played Unity.
Oh, you haven't?
No, not at all.
Well, I guess on that note, what Assassin's Creeds have you been playing lately? What's the latest one?
I am still working my way through Odyssey. I'm 36 hours deep, which, I mean, they're pretty long games, especially the newer ones with the open worlds. So I get very easily distracted. I was playing a little bit of it earlier today, and I loaded into my save that I haven't touched for about a month now. And you know, when you put down a game and you pick it back up, and it's like all of your skills just go away, you forget what you're doing, where you are. So I load up my save, and Cassandra and the ship is in the middle of a mission where I saved, and there's enemies all around me. I have to eliminate 4 of them, and I'm just like, what's going on? How do I steer the ship? I had to pause, look at the controls, go back in, and I just got slaughtered. So I reloaded, and I had to cheese my way like around the outskirts of the enemies, like a circle, and just like plink away at them one at a time to like pull them away from the group, and then go board their ship, and I killed them all that way, slowly, one after another. Then I got to run around the open world. I did some side quests, and then I saved and quit for the day. But honestly, Odyssey is probably my favorite for its time right now. I would say it stands up there for me personally with number 2, just because I like the aesthetic in Odyssey a lot. I like being in Greece is amazing. The whole setting, the colors and everything really pops with HDR. It feels very, very colorful compared to a lot of our current games, which feels like we're kind of slowly diving back into the brown and bloom era of video games where things are very dark and depressing. Going back to Odyssey is like, oh, it's so pretty. I love it.
It's Odyssey was not one of my most favorite ones. Not to put a dampener out there on you.
You're allowed to contrast me. That's a-okay.
I applaud it for continuing on what we had established in Origins with the new combat system and a variety of different just mechanics and a change up from the previous Assassin's Creed before Origins, which, ooh, if memory serves me right, that was Syndicate, I want to say. It's been a good minute since I have looked into that, but I want to say it was Syndicate, and then they took a 2-year break, and then we got Origins, and then yeah, Odyssey came, followed
And then
suit.
Valhalla after that, yeah. And you
Valhalla.
liked Origins quite a bit, right?
I did like Origins quite a bit. I did. And again, that was the first one with the new combat system. And it was a little clunky, but you know, you get the gist, you get in there. And I love the story, beating that and just getting to know how Bayek kind of joined in with the hidden ones and all that. There's some really cool stuff in that game. And I like Odyssey enough for its time period and whatnot, but I just felt like Odyssey and Valhalla, I kind of lumped the two together a little bit. Valhalla, I liked at the start, but I kind of fell off of it. It was overwhelming and too much going on, and going into Asgard and fighting Loki and all these things. Like, ay, ay, ay. I'm just losing it. I'm losing it a little bit. But then Mirage, oh, Mirage came out after, and Mirage was it was picking up on an assassin that they brought in the main narrative of Valhalla. So you get to see this guy's origins and how things play out for him. And I really, really liked Mirage's story, and just it felt smooth. And then again, that was back to basics. That felt like Assassin's Creed 1, and I was jiving with it, running with it. I was having an absolute blast with that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, have you played Mirage or Valhalla?
No, I've been out of the loop since trying to work my way back up with Odyssey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you like the change of the combat system and everything that they introduced in comparison to those older ones?
Yes, I think that the original Assassin's Creeds now are very clunky with the combat, as good as they are as games. Just like you go back to play any, okay, maybe this is stretching it a bit, but going back to like an N64 game, and you go, wow, like the controller's awful, but the video game's controls are actually awful. But you're used to it because that's what you grew up with. So you already know all the little tricks and everything to move around. Going back to Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 had that really slow parkour. Go to climb a building and it's like, oh goodness, this takes forever. And then you go to fight, go to clip through in combat, and it's like it's just the unintuitiveness is lost now with games in our current time. Because when I play Odyssey, it's like, oh, okay, this is not quite like Batman Arkham where I'm like teleporting between enemies and I can just mash the button, so I don't really have to focus. I still have to position myself, dodge, but I have that freedom of movement. I have the ability to disengage and run and climb over anything. And I really like that fluidity. Where I feel though that Odyssey does kind of fail as an experiment is because they took the RPG leveling system stuff from Origins. They added a whole grinding experience to the game, almost like it was a push for the player base to feel the need to purchase the level up packs and stuff like that with real money to save themselves time instead of grinding in the game. So even on normal difficulty, on the easiest settings, I'm finding that I'll do a story quest and then I am railroaded into being forced to do side quests. I can't skip any of them, or I will be vastly underleveled for the next story quest, which in a sense can be fine. But where I got kind of stuck on a speed bump for a little bit was the very first boss fight that you get, where you have to go fight like I think it was like a warthog type boar thing.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know the one I'm talking about?
I know exactly. Yeah.
That threw me into like the bridge fight from Dark Souls level of frustration. I was ready to scream. That stupid pig was the hardest fight so far in the game. Nothing's topped it yet. Everything's been great. All the other animal fights, okay, you know what? I gotta get it. I can feel it now. It's, keep my distance, engage, attack, use my abilities, disengage. But that first time fighting the pig, I was just, oh God, I think I died like 65 times.
Then you worry, is this the bar like going in for every boss?
Yeah, it's like, what is this sponge that I'm fighting? Why does this destroy me in a single hit? Why is it that it summons all these other dudes that hone in on me? Like, this is absolute bullpucky. But moving on from that, I think that's where I lean into valuing the world and the rest of the game. It does have some pretty major flaws with the grinding and with some of the enemies being damage sponges, because clearly they hadn't yet perfected their leveling system and their difficulty.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's well said. So once you get through Odyssey and you're all completed and whatnot, is there another one that's kind of catched caught your interest? I'm not sure if you're going in the linear path of releases or whatnot, or if you're just picking your favorite ones or going
Um,
whatever calls your name.
oh, ideally, I would love to work my way up linearly, but I know that I would suffer that burnout that I did originally.
Mm-hmm.
And probably skipping forward a few games, since the narrative isn't as fluid as it was for the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
They're all more self-contained while they have their overarching story points. I think I would just pick up the most recent Assassin's Creed and kind of go from there. Once Shadows has all of its expansions and stuff out, I might try it out or wait for the next one and then go with that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, I'd say. And most of the Assassin's Creed games nowadays, you're right, they do cross over in their overarching narratives, but at their core, they're pretty much a self-sustaining, standing Assassin's Creed title with, the characters and whatnot. You'll recognize names and faces, but when you hop into the shoes of that assassin, it's a new story, and it doesn't take much to kind of figure out what's going on, especially since that original trilogy of the Ezio trilogy and Assassin's Creed 3 and all that. I mean, you're not getting that kind of dare I say quality content, at least in terms of the narrative these days. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there that are really, really on the train of Assassin's Creed and following every little detail. And I wish I was there with you, but it was just something was missing after the fact. And it's hard for me to say what the last great one was. I don't think I can. I think that they're all unique in their own way, and I'm biased because I love Assassin's Creed 2 and I adore Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Those are fantastic. But again, I think there's places in my heart for Mirage and for Origins and for Syndicate, Unity. All these titles, they hit differently and they hit me in the right way and sometimes the wrong way. But I'm excited for when you get around to Shadows and get to hear your feedback on that, because from what I have played of Shadows, it is really, really done a fantastic job at refining that combat system that they started with Origins and Odyssey. Oh man, and just upgrading things and getting your armor and your weapons in there, and it is smooth for a combat system.
I'll look forward to that, especially because by the time I get around to it, the game will have all of its patches and updates. So some of those base problems with the game will have been fixed by then. Plus, I'll be able to play the expansion that's coming out soon, the Claws of Awaji.
Mm-hmm.
And that one looks pretty interesting. It's releasing later this year, and that DLC is introducing a new region, the island of Awaji, and it's bringing, of course, new stories and challenges to the game, but it's horror themed. And when it comes to Japan, I love Japanese horror. Ooh, that is so fantastic. And I would actually like to have that kind of Assassin's Creed like gameplay in that horror setting. I'm curious as to how that'll work. So that is something I actually do want to check out now that I think about it.
That sounds fantastic. And it's later in 2025, you said? So they're probably timing it, if it's horror themed, with the fall.
Probably.
October, I imagine.
That would make a lot of sense.
What are some, when you say horror theme, Japan, what comes to mind? Because I really don't know much about I kind of like ghouls and ghasts and ghosts and stuff that exist in Japanese culture. Do you know of anything?
Yeah. So think about some classic Japanese horror, like the Ring, the long
okay.
black hair coming out of the TV. They have these really good setups where you have like the horror of like Dead Water, where you have an apartment building that's haunted by a ghost, and it's because there is a body that's up in a tank on top of the roof that's still rotting. So the entire apartment's water system is like infected with this dead person. And that's how the ghost gets through the apartment, with strands of hair coming up through like the drains and the tub and everything.
Ugh.
And the way that the Japanese community does horror has always had its highlights from like their historical ghosts and legends, where you're talking about things like not just like your oni, which are demons and stuff like that, but also when it comes to their ghosts, they're all very unique. Or you get like the kappa and stuff like that, like almost like cryptid territory. So you get like these really well built, established monsters with their own lore that have a lot of mythology and legends in Japan already.
Mm-hmm.
In a game like Assassin's Creed Shadows, being able to have like those, I guess it kind of ties in with Odyssey and it's like mythological like boss fights and stuff in the expansions. But having like those fantastical things that aren't really, you know, common ground in regular history, they're more fantasy. There's a lot to play with there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, that sounds pretty awesome. I'm down for that. I think that would be really, really exciting. Assassin's Creed has definitely not shied away from doing different zany DLCs like that. In terms of horror, I mean, they did Jack the Ripper, where he was an assassin, but he kind of turned into serial killer, and you got to play as him. And Syndicates, that was kind of cool. And then, yeah, the Tyranny of King Washington, where he doesn't become president of the United States, he becomes king over the new colonies of the United States. So I'm wondering if this is how zany that this is going to go with its horror. And we know that there are some legendary creatures in Assassin's Creed Shadows. There was the oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a huge elk with cherry blossoms on its antlers, and it was only visible on the right conditions in the game at this certain location. So they've definitely got some very cool creatures in there already.
And in Japan, ghosts are so broad as well with the monster theme that they're just called like yokai, evil spirits. I know it's kind of getting sidetracked, but I think another good example of Japanese horror is how original their horror can feel, especially in video games, where you have like, oh man, I can't remember the name of that game series because it's been so long, but you have this camera called the Camera Obscura, and you're in these like ghost towns and villages in ancient Japan that you're like walking through, playing as like these two girls or whatever, and your only weapon is your camera, and you can only defeat the ghosts by taking pictures of them.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Interesting. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the game, but I know exactly what you were talking about. I've seen gameplay of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's that atmosphere in the setup where you have like each little house almost tells a story about the family that was there and is now haunting it, right? They're so good at setting that up.
Cool. Well, anything else you want to add to the
No.
expansion? No? Okay. Then we're going to jump to our first ad break, and we will be right back. And we are back. So continuing on the track of horror-themed Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed codename, I never know how to pronounce this. Hexe? I want to say Hex. Hexe. How would you say that word, Kirk? Reuben, Jesus.
I'm just going to call it a hex for now. It feels cursed enough already.
Yeah. And now it's supposedly based on the witch trials, and we haven't really gotten anything else with this game yet, and what is going to entail. So we just don't know, aside from the fact that it looks very spooky, and I really do want to try it out.
If they're keeping with the horror theme, that'll be interesting to transition into from the expansion for Shadows into Hex.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, the time period, that's a hefty jump, and who knows. Again, these games are all standalone in their own way, and how will this game connect into the overarching narrative, or is it going to be like an expansion onto Shadows? I don't know, but we'll talk about Nexus later, because you kind of were highlighting that a little bit in some of the notes I saw.
Random thought, because you said, we're kind of jumping really far up into history here. Can you imagine like 30, 50 years from now when we're old, if Ubisoft is still around and decides to make a new Assassin's Creed game? What if they just set it back in like modern times today for the assassin, and you're playing as someone that's in our timeline 50 years from now, re-experiencing like an ancestor?
That would be very, very weird.
You hop back and play as Desmond.
You know that'll be the case at some point. I mean, where we are now will be. I mean, Ubisoft would have to be around for a very, very long time and continue making their Assassin's Creed games once every year to eventually get to that point. So if
Maybe
you,
it'll be
you
like a
said,
franchise revival.
yeah, we're gonna revive Assassin's Creed with the year 2025 coming out of COVID-19 and all these other things, forest fires. Oh my goodness, tariffs.
That would be terrific.
Oh, maybe if they're listening, they can get some of these ideas from us. Have you heard of Assassin's Creed Jade by chance?
You've mentioned it to me once before.
I tried getting into the beta, but they did not permit me, so I was not able to try it out. But it's still due to release in 2025. This is the mobile Assassin's Creed title. It's set in ancient China, which has pissed a lot of people off because it's ancient China. Why would you put that on mobile? Let's get this on consoles. And I can kind of sympathize with that for sure. It would be very cool, but the game looks pretty immaculate for as far as mobile games go. Holy smokes. Mobile games
Really?
have come a long way.
What's the gameplay like?
Oh my goodness. I have to revisit that and pull up a video to see, but it feels, and I can't say feels, it looks like an Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed title with how you handle it, how you play it. And it's not like those old Nintendo DS ones. Like it's an open
those were
world.
awful. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. I remember
Discovery
playing that
and
one.
Altair's Chronicles.
I had
But
Altair's Chronicles. I had a physical edition of that.
did you really? That's
Yeah.
hard to find. That's definitely. Do you still have it? That's a
No.
collectible, I'm sure.
If I still had it, I would give it to you.
Well, this definitely doesn't play like that. This plays like what you see and how you're moving around in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That's Assassin's Creed Jade. It's the same thing. So very, very impressed with it, but hopefully I'll be able to get around to trying it out sometime this year when it releases on mobile. Now, there's also reports of another codenamed Assassin's Creed project titled Nebula, and I had not heard about this until I started digging around and snooping around for some show notes and finding out that this is another single player adventure, and it's rumored to take place in the Aztec Empire, India, and around the Mediterranean.
Oh,
Which
interesting. So is it going to be like hopping around various points in time then?
that I don't know. Uh, but that would be very different from what we've seen before, where one base game is basically focused on one set point in time. Where
Hmm.
here, maybe you have three different assassins and it's one narrative. And so you're jumping between the three of them because they're all connected to one point in time or one narrative, one story moving forward, which they kind of did with Revelations, where you're playing, I believe some of the missions you're playing as Altair and other missions you're playing as Ezio, and then the stories kind of converge at the end of the game, which was just amazing to see them come together like that. So you might be onto something with that, with
Hmm.
this, if that
Yeah,
makes
I'm full
sense.
of ideas. Give me like a Back to the Future vibe where current day something's going wrong and you got to fix it through the Animus.
For sure. And then lastly here on this note is Assassin's Creed Black Flag potentially getting a remaster, which has
I've heard
been,
about that.
yes, it's been on the rumor docket for quite some time now, and I'm all for it. People that I talk to at my work and just around town, if I meet someone and we get and talk about video games and Assassin's Creed inevitably will come up. It's usually like everyone's go-to is like, yo, the last time I played was Black Flag. Black Flag was great. Love Black Flag. Like no one's playing the newer ones. It's just Black Flag is where it starts and ends for them.
Right? Because it's not officially announced or anything, but it's definitely heavily rumored, right?
Yes. Well, I got a little tease here, a potential leak maybe. Have you heard of Pure Arts before?
No.
They're a company that specializes in creating and manufacturing premium collectible figurines, basically based off like video games and movies and whatnot. So basically, one of the hosts during a live stream, a Pure Arts live stream, was getting a little bit confused and flustered between what was like officially announced and said and what wasn't. And so I'll quote it here, and I quote. Assassin's Creed fans out there, you should be aware that there is something going on with Edward Kenway, said one host, where he was then interrupted by the other host asking him, wait, has that been announced? I think so. I'm pretty sure I saw rumors about it. No, I definitely saw an article about it. He later said, so there's going to be something going on with Edward, and our PVC 1/8 scale statue will reflect that accordingly. End quote.
There's definitely a lot of things that they could do with a remake. I remember there was a game journalist somewhere that reported a playable build that existed, and it was just like a rumor at that point because who knows? But if they are remaking it, do you think it would be more of like an updated port with better graphics, or do you think they'll actually enhance the original gameplay, the naval exploration where they had really first like nailed it, but still tried to improve upon it a lot with Odyssey and everything?
I could see them. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a port, and I'll circle back to that port question in a second. But I think that they could enhance it and bump up the naval gameplay because we've had Skull and Bones come out, which, funny enough, was kind of burst out of what Assassin's Creed Black Flag had done because Skull and Bones is so old. But the naval combat in that game is pretty awesome. It's pretty sweet. And I think that a lot of what they did in there could be integrated over into Black Flag. Of course, leaving some things behind because that game is not perfect, but they did do a lot of right going into the naval combat and the seas and the sailing and everything like that.
Were there any crossovers in that game for Assassin's Creed? Did they throw any like secrets or anything hidden in there?
I can't remember, but I don't think so. It's unfortunate because they used to do that a lot. They did it with Ghost Recon Wildlands. They did that with Rainbow Six Siege. I don't know about For Honor, but they did it with a few of their other titles, and it just it's fun. It was really cool. They kind of did stuff like that, but I don't think that they did that with Skull and Bones, sadly, at least to my knowledge.
At least not what they did with Dead by Daylight. Because in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we got a whole side story for Dead by Daylight. Got some cosmetics, got a trinket. Not a whole lot of unlockable stuff, but like a short little side mission.
Yeah, and it's funny because I thought, oh, Dead by Daylight is the game that's getting this. We're gonna get a new killer and maybe a new survivor because they've been popping off with Alien and what was the other one they did? They have Chucky.
They just did Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Did they really?
Yeah, you have Springtrap now. You have the entire like pizzeria. It's a whole thing.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I guess that makes sense because we got Five Nights at Freddy's 2 coming out this year. The movie, not the game.
I'll go see that actually. I didn't mind the first movie.
I'm curious when that comes out, see where they pick up. But yeah, that's neat that they're adding this kind of stuff into Assassin's Creed, and again, getting more into that horror kind of vibe, right? That we're talking about earlier. Before continuing on here, that other part of the question that you asked, if it's a port, do you know with regards to Black Flag, do you know if the Assassin's Creed Ezio trilogy was a port, or was that, did they remaster that? Because I know they did Assassin's Creed 3 remastered, but I can't remember if the Ezio trilogy was like revised or enhanced or anything.
No, I think it was generally a port because like remasters are like new graphics, like Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary would be considered a remaster because it's still a port, but with a fresh coat of paint. I like that you could toggle the original graphics. But yeah, I'm kind of hoping that Black Flag is at least a remaster, not just a standard port.
Me too.
Although being able to go back and experience the other Assassins in some kind of a new setting is apparently something that we missed out on back in 2023, because there was an Assassin's Creed VR game called Assassin's Creed Nexus VR. And in it, you get a couple of new short stories, and you can play as Ezio, Cassandra, and Connor in smaller open world maps that are very parkour friendly. They advertise some like fluid, like intuitive combat and everything, because honestly, I mean, VR generally is pretty intuitive. You use your hands to play, essentially. And a game like Assassin's Creed, so long as you're not doing cartwheels and flips, actually sounds really fun in VR. I might get a little bit sick if I'm scaling a tall building, but imagine being able to like jump off a rooftop and like aim and use that hidden blade.
Well, my experience with VR is always at your house, whether it's Five Nights at Freddy's or I remember when you had me playing Resident Evil 7. Oh my gosh, that's where I got motion sick, was playing Resident Evil. Hot tamale.
The good news is now that I have an updated PlayStation VR 2, unlike the original, the higher frame rate in games, the higher resolution has removed a lot of my motion sickness.
Is that
Because
right?
there's a lot less of that disconnect. Still, a little bit sometimes if I'm playing like a racing game, I find if my viewpoint is really limited, I feel like I'm looking through binoculars. I'm disconnected from reality. There's stuff moving around me, but I'm not moving. With a full headset, though, where you can actually see everything all around you, everything's nice and clear, and there's no like choppiness to the frame rate, and everything's super buttery smooth. It throws me off a lot less now, which is kind of exciting. It makes me feel like I could play the Assassin's Creed VR game.
Well, yeah, like you highlighted, a game like that would be pretty cool just to feel the power of the assassin and just to role play and
Jump in a hay bale.
I learned a term today called aura farming. I feel like this game would have
Oh, you finally learned the word. I learned that. I think I learned that a few months ago, and I was like, what is this newfangled slang? I'm not using this ever, and now I'm using it.
I feel like this VR version would have a lot of that.
The aura farming. Stand on top of the rooftop and wait for the guard to come around. He looks at you like, oh, there's an enemy here. And you just stand there aura farming like, nope, I'm not ready to jump on him yet. Give it a little bit more time.
Well, I think that wraps up everything video game related for Assassin's Creed. Was there anything else you wanted to sneak in there?
No, that covers everything for me. I guess we can move on to other formats now.
Yeah. Steer us into this new one, because this is a topic you slid in there, and I did not even know about this.
Oh yes, I will bring up the next one. So, Mantic Games is currently developing Assassin's Creed Animus. It's a strategic board game featuring all the different assassins like Altair, Ezio, Eivor. It's designed for 2 to 4 players. Some kind of strategy and competition involved in it. It's got a crowdfunding It's got a crowdfunding campaign right now scheduled to maybe come out late 2025. And I know I've seen like a lot of video game board games come out. There's some really good ones, and then there's some that they kind of just get forgotten about. But I feel like a strategy board game could be pretty good for Assassin's Creed.
I would think so. They had one come out a while ago called Assassin's Creed Arena, and I was at Value Village, and they had it, and I opened it up and was like, oh, this looks like it's pretty good condition. I'm just gonna trust that all the pieces are in here, and I bought it for like $8, $10.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's in my closet. I have never played it, so I think games like this, it's just a matter of finding your gaming crowd to kind of like come together and dabble in for a board game night. I think it's not always easy to get into very in-depth board games like this because it's very different. And I think there's a very strong line divider between games like this and then games that are, I don't want to say Cards Against Humanity, but like
quick to pick up and put down party games.
Exploding Kittens kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what they do, like the crossover thing for, like where you see Super Mario Monopoly.
That's right.
Or when you're playing a really well-known game and you want a fresh coat of paint on some of your cards, we have... Dun, da, da, da. I'll let you lead into the next one.
Magic: The Gathering. That was great. Back in 2024. Yes, so there are universes beyond sets that they've been putting out, and they've got some great ones. I picked up a set for Jurassic Park, which I love those cards. Oh my gosh. They've basically put out one for Assassin's Creed. This is a huge crossover set, and I was following this one quite closely because even though I play a little bit of Commander, I am not as well versed in Magic as you are, and I wish I got a little bit more into it. But this is one like I just I had to get some of these cards, and so I went and bought a bunch of packs. On my shelf, I've got a collector booster box
Did you
right now,
open them?
unopened. No, that's sealed. It's
Oh,
sealed. It's nice. It's sitting up there on display. The box art is just beautiful. It's really really nice to look at. So, but I've got a few. I've got a few of the characters. I got Xiao Jun, I believe is her name, and then I got an Ezio, and I got a few other Assassin's Creed characters.
yeah, they did Cassandra dirty in that set because all the other cards have such cool art, and Cassandra's is just like a close up with her looking at the camera.
Well, speak to it a little bit because you are a resident Magic the Gathering fellow. So, do you use any of these cards? Are you still actively playing, or like what kind of have you collected any of these so far?
No, I haven't actively played any new sets for a while. I'll still dabble with Commander mainly, or my Cube with the Innistrad set and everything. But it is nice that the Universes Beyond sets exist because a lot of the cards are reskins of other popular cards or cards that you could put in a Commander deck or cards that you could be like, hey, you know what? The set alone doesn't work to play a full game of Magic in its little environment because there's not enough content. But you add it to your existing content and be like, hey, you know what? This deck now, it's got like Hidden Blade. That's new. That's pretty cool. And we have some reskins of some black mana cards for assassinations and like Death Touch and stuff like that. But then if you want to expand that even more, if you want to be more thematic, that's where all of the legendary creatures come into play, which are all the assassins. So you could make Ezio your commander or Cassandra and so forth. And you could have some really cool themed decks, even if you only have like 5 or 10 cards. Then you can add all the rest from other Magic sets to fill it in.
I like that. There's just the idea of combining Assassin's Creed with Lord of the Rings, for example, that gets me super jazzed because I think Lord of the Rings came out first.
You can put the One Ring in your deck and then make Ezio the Ring Bearer.
What would happen if you did that?
Oh, there'd just be chaos. Put your Jurassic Park cards in there. You'd have so many rules. Having like the One Ring in a deck just changes so much of the gameplay.
What does the One Ring do? Forgive me, I have not kept up with what its abilities are.
Oh,
why are you typing?
Let me pull it up right now so I can read it to you. So when the One Ring enters the battlefield, if you've played that card, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. So you as a player. And then at the beginning of your next turn, you basically lose a life for every time the ring has something called a burden counter put on it. And whenever you use the ring on your turn, you put a burden counter on the One Ring and then draw a card for each of those counters on it. So every time you use it, you gain a lot of card draw, which is really strong in Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all that kind of stuff. So it's always a great, amazing ability to have. But use it too much, and it'll kill you.
Oh, I see. That's clever. I like that.
And of course, you know, the One Ring also had its one version of that ring that exists out there that's worth so much money.
That's pulled by a Canadian.
Yeah. On camera.
Yeah. I remember watching that video. So there's other versions of it, though, just not the same as that one that was pulled.
You also have like a different version of the ring that has some other rules and stuff on it, too. So you have ring bearers as a creature type.
Okay.
They become that when you use the ring. Not the same card I was talking about, but another one in the set, I believe. Forgive me. My knowledge on this set itself isn't great. I've only seen it used in a commander deck a couple of times. But basically, you also have this add-on for some of your creatures where your ring bearer is now legendary, can't be blocked by creatures that are more powerful. Whenever that creature attacks, you draw a card, then discard a card. So again, cycling through the deck is a common theme for the ring. So that goes on. So imagine having this craziness mixed in with like the Ezio card, which just gives you a bunch of stuff you can do with different mana. Because Ezio's last rule is whenever Ezio deals combat damage to a player, you may pay one of every single type of color of mana. And if that player has 10 or less life, that player loses the game.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's blunt.
Uh-huh. Pretty quick assassination.
Yeah. I'm going to have to see if I can collect some more Assassin's Creed cards. They're still in the stores. And, you know, their Pokemon cards are not available anymore in stores. But there's lots of Assassin's Creed Magic the Gathering cards. So I'm going to just go buy those again.
Well, the Pokemon cards are available for 5 seconds.
That's right. Yeah. At 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. when the store opens on a Friday, whenever a new set drops.
You know what they're doing
Rivals.
you know what they're doing in Japan to combat how bad it is with the Pokemon card game right now?
What's that?
When you go into a store and you want to buy Pokemon cards, a lot of game stores in Japan quiz you on Pokemon knowledge before you're allowed to buy anything.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man. I don't know how well I would do on some of the newer stuff, but like Dylan on SideQuest, he quizzed me with some trivia, like name all 151 base set Pokemon and then Gen 2 and stuff.
I'd love to see you do that in the PokeRap style.
In the PokeRap style?
Memorize the whole thing. You got this.
Oh my gosh, that's 2 on the spot. Jeez Louise. I didn't get all of them when he trivia'd me, and I was working with Kirkland at the time. Missed some of the few, and there's just those odd forms that you can easily just overlook. But I remember some of like the notable ones like Growlithe Arcanine and Scyther, and then you think there's some that you think are maybe in Gen 1, but really they're in Gen 2. And then you got like the baby Pokemon and stuff like that. And it's like, I digress.
Now we have things like Alolan and Galarian forms of Pokemon.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hey, I love that. I love that. There is a ROM hack for a couple of the Pokemon games called Pokemon Fusion. And they make things even crazier by allowing you to use a special lab to combine Pokemon into entirely new ones based on the 2 you combined. So think of all the different combinations and fusions.
That's pretty cool because what are we at, like 900 Pokemon species? So that's a lot of combinations and fusions.
Well, there's a lot. Of course, the ROM hack is for the Pokemon in that game, so not all of them. But still, like there's a lot that get added by it. There's a lot of community art that went into making all the sprites and everything. So many cool things you can make.
Cool.
But before we get too far away from Assassin's Creed here, we'll carry on into our next round of topics. I believe we're talking about what movie news is there?
The sequel is dead in the water. There's nothing coming out for an Assassin's Creed movie right now, at least that I could dig up. You know, there was at the time when that first movie dropped, which you and me saw it in theaters together. That was a heck of a good time. I got the photos still on my phone of us there.
Good memories.
Good memories. So, yeah, it was basically a box office disappointment. The movie was going to get a second one that had a cliffhanger for it, and it set it up, and nothing's coming from that. It fuzzed out pretty quick. So
it got assassinated.
It got assassinated. But there is a silver lining because we are on track to be getting a Netflix Assassin's Creed live action show. And this is something I remember back in Fan Expo when I was in Toronto and attended it. There was a panel from Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed head honchos were there talking about it, answering questions. And one at the time, and this was before 2020, this was a while ago, that they were trying, they said they're trying to get their feet off the ground with getting a live action TV show in the works. And so here we go. The show officially began development in 2020, and then just this past April, they reiterated, because it's 2025 now, that the series is still active and it is in development with Netflix. We even got a very cool Assassin's Creed Netflix logo, an official one that dropped. You've seen it, I'm sure.
Have I?
Well, maybe not. Let me Netflix logo. Let me pull it up here so you can see it.
So I can see it. Unlike any listeners, we'll describe the logo in detail.
That's right. I'm gonna share it on my screen here so you can see it.
Oh.
Have you not seen this?
That's very red.
It is very red. Yeah, a Netflix original series. Yeah, so that's the latest with that. But where is it here? So in mid-May, it was reported that the series will have a single season that will debut 2025 to 2026, roughly around that time period. Now, there are some names attached to this project as well. Roberto Patino and David Wiener as joint executive producers and showrunners. There were a few other names that were attached, but they had since left the project because it's been going on for a while. We have Claire, and I hope I'm saying this right, Kate Shell and Joaquin Castellanos as co-executive producers. Sanaz Tawasi, Emily St. John Mandel, Sam Reynolds, Daniel Goldberg, and Tom Hennings as staff writers. Now, Claire has worked on the HBO show Watchmen from 2019, as well as Star Wars Acolyte.
Okay.
So there's some cool pieces to her portfolio or resume there. We'll see what she brings over. I know Acolyte wasn't the most well received show on Disney Plus at its time. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like a full 10 out of 10. And I've heard great things about the Watchmen show on HBO, but I've not watched it myself. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to whenever this live action show comes around. I'm waiting for it, and I'm ready for it. So now's the time, because we got Amazon Prime is doing Fallout. They're getting Fallout Season 2. And I think they got Season 3 that they've subscribed up for. So video game shows are definitely all the rage right now.
I think another one too was the Assassin's Creed anime that Ubisoft and some other company had announced at one point. But I think around October of last year, there was some news, because there haven't been any updates recently, but someone at the head of the studio apparently walked away from the project, and that led to there being a lack of news. There's not a whole lot to go on.
That's unfortunate.
So that could be another dead in the water one too.
Yeah. Hopefully not, because I mean, animated projects they're popping off. We're just around the corner from Predator: Killer of Killers.
I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, something like that in the style of Assassin's Creed. I feel like it would do really, really well.
We did get two animated shorts on Crunchyroll before Assassin's Creed Shadows released, focusing on Nao and Yasuke.
Oh, is that right? I did not know this.
Well, now you know. Yeah, just a couple of animated shorts.
Okay, well that's cool. Well, there's something then. Go over to Crunchyroll, ladies and gentlemen. Cool. Well, I think that has cleaned out the notes for this episode. Is there anything else that you wanted to highlight or touch upon?
I think we have covered practically everything over the past few years since we last made an episode. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot more in the future. Obviously, Assassin's Creed is sticking around.
Yes, and whether or not you get another Geeks Creed, I won't say no, but I won't say yes. Who knows? We're busy. We got Cryptic Clues, and we got other stuff popping off. But yeah, it's nice to just have been getting back in the chair here and talking about Assassin's Creed and just what's the latest and greatest in this Ubisoft world that they've created. I know that they're still doing Assassin's Creed books. I still got all mine on the shelf up until I got Secret Crusade, Forsaken, Black Flag, Unity.
Have you read them all?
Underworld. I have read them all, and I really do love the books.
Nice.
There are familiar things and familiar story beats, obviously, with the games, but most of the books are set up to either be prequels or brief moments in between the games, during the games, but never. They're not really set up to be like from the start of Assassin's Creed 2 to the end of Assassin's Creed 2. It's supposed to be like kind of like missions that are happening, like stuff on the side, extra stuff. It's just they really do a good job at world building. It's the best way I can put it. Yeah, but that is it. So thank you for tuning into this Geeks Creed anniversary episode that we have done. Like I said, it was good to be back here with you, Reuben, to talk about all this. And
Always.
Always. We'll see what the future brings. And again, yeah, shout outs to you for making that kick-ass intro. I love it.
So much less cringy than the old ones. Oh, it feels like the proper evolution.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Geeks Creed. And yeah, check out GeekVerse podcast. You can find all your latest and greatest geek movie reviews and content. And yeah, just join the Patreon. We get ad-free early episodes available there and all that fun stuff. So until next time, everyone, take care and stay safe.
We'll see you in the search bar. Bye-bye.